Hi, I'm Nancy Fredericks with Nancy Fredericks International, and welcome. I'm so pleased that you joined us for the Mindful Business Tip number 9, in the midst of the firestorm of change. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean when I say firestorm of change? It's rather dramatic, isn't it? And yet, look around you. Look at the corporations that you work for globally. Aren't there huge chaos and fires occurring all over the place? Isn't it occurring when policies and procedures are blown up? Isn't it happening when you look around for those handholds and footholds as you climb and escalate up the mountain, and yet they're not there anymore? Doesn't it occur when all of a sudden a whole new company acquires you and none of your senior management level is there? Doesn't it occur when your boss is moved on to another company and your company brings in someone from the outside that you now report to? Doesn't it occur all the time in corporations when what was known no longer exists anymore? That's the firestorm of change. And the reality is how you respond to the firestorm of change has a lot to do with who you become in your organization. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of tips that you can do right now in the midst of change that will support you being an influencer in the future. However, I want to talk to you about Australia and the spring of fire that occurs there. And it only happens every once in a while, just like these massive changes only happen every once in a while in corporations. But every once in a while in Australia, huge fires start burning. And they burn, and they burn, and they burn, and they burn, leaving nothing behind but devastation. And yet, out of those ashes rises and blooms magnificent flowers that only come out in the soot and the ashes and as a response of the soil to the fire around it. And it happens every time there's a fire. So I'd like you to start thinking about your spring of fire and what it looked like when you went through it. And how do you respond when that's occurring all around you? Well, the first thing I would like to suggest that you do is embrace it. Yes, embrace it. This is an absolutely phenomenal opportunity to really look at yourself and examine and reassess yourself to make sure that you're relevant in the global marketplace. What do you have to do newly? What do you have to learn newly to be relevant in this new company that's emerging out of the spring of fire in your company? And if you decide to stay, I want you to be thinking about, how do I become the change agent? How do I come in every single solitary day excited and on board with the change that's occurring? Because what I see when I'm coaching around the country, not all the time, but frequently enough to bring it up in a conversation today, is that those of you who have stayed and remain after the spring of fire occurs in your company, you think you're the soothsayers of all the future projects and processes that are coming into being, and that you need to point out where things are perhaps going to be falling flat on their face because they haven't been thought of carefully enough. Well, this, without question, will have you being seen as a change resistor when all you're trying to do is be a change assister. So what do? You know, the reality is that you need to understand the effective sequence of change that occurs for you. First, you have to let every single solitary person in your organization understand that you're on board with change, that you're excited about this newly emerging flower called your company, that you want to be part of making this the best that it's ever been. And secondly, you have to understand timing. I want you to sit back, and if you have an idea that's going to make the new project better and flower more fully, I want you to ask yourself in the pause, is this problem going to emerge right now? Or is this something that's going to emerge later down the road in the process of change? Because if it's going to be happening later, I really strongly suggest that you wait. Because the reality is that it may get fixed on its own. And if you speak problem too early in the game, once again, you're seen as a change resistor. And honestly, being seen as a change resistor harms the future viability of your career. Because change agents is a leadership attitude. And to be seen as anything other than a change agent does not bode well for your career today and in the future. So start thinking about the sequence. First embrace, then look at timing, and then speak change. And start out embracing the change that's occurring from a point of view of what is relevant for me to learn. What do I need to do better? And this is going to have you on board and being excited about the flowers emerging all around you, which, by the way, one of them is going to be your career. Thanks so much, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Much success in between now and then. Bye.